Thanks for joining us here on Aero-TV and Airborne and working with us on the convention floor of the MGM Grand. Tell us what's new with SmartSky. Every time I get a press release, which is a pretty regular event, you guys are doing something that really raises the bar.
Well, first, thanks for having me, Jim. I guess the short answer to your question is on Monday at the new product introduction session, we announced the very first 4G LTE solution for the light jet turboprop market. We couldn't be more excited about that. It fulfills a need for that owner-flown market, that value-driven market that just in our judgment hasn't existed before. So it will enable your Citation Jet, your Pilatus PC-12, your King Air owner-operators to get all the enjoyment out of the internet that they can at their home or office at just a terrific price point and with a hardware configuration that is designed specifically for those smaller airframes.
So basically, thanks to you, we cannot escape the internet anywhere. It follows us wherever we go, wherever we fly, whether we're flying, whether we're a passenger, it's relentless.
Well, Jim, you say that, and it's a fair point. However, I think you and your viewers, of course, can appreciate that the demand for connectivity is only going in one direction.
Yeah.
And when I get on a commercial flight, it's fascinating to me over the last couple, 3 years in particular, to see the number of people that the first thing they try to do is get connected, whether that's United, Delta, or American, and it's a painful process for business people specifically to go an hour without connectivity.
An hour?
Yeah,
I get the shakes at about 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So you get my point precisely, and some people say, well, I'm in the left seat, why would I care? The conversation is very quickly moving away from just cabin connectivity. And I think that's an important point here. At SmartSky, we not only are building the aviation's first 4G LTE network, but we're also focusing on safety, real-time information that can enable that owner pilot to benefit from flight path optimization and things that they just can't do today. So it's not just about watching Netflix in the cabin anymore. It's bringing connectivity to the cockpit and helping that pilot get more out of the airplane and be safer. And
information is life.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this. Connectivity in flight, compared to when we started all this 10 years ago, has been this escalating minefield. There are a number of different approaches to different problems. There are a number of companies competing in the space, all in different areas. What distinguishes SmartSky right now? Why does SmartSky exist, and what do you think are your prime attributes in presenting your product line to this community?
Yeah, I'll start with, why do we exist? And it's quite simply because, as I've already said, the demand for connectivity is going in only one direction. And if you go back and look at what happened terrestrially 30 years ago, there were only one or two players. And today, of course, you have a good many choices as a consumer on where you can go to solve for your connectivity issues. So that's the why. It's a solid business case, and it's a very good use of capital, quite frankly, to deploy a 4G LTE network specifically for business aviation and general aviation. In terms of what makes us different, we the industry have a air-to-ground solution in GoGo. We're big fans of what GoGo's done. They deliver a terrific service to this industry. We're different from GoGo in a variety of ways. First, 4G LTE.
Yeah.
We are the only 4G LTE network, and inherently, when I say that, that means you're going to get the same sort of user experience in your aircraft that you do on the ground over a 4G LTE network. We're utilizing 60 megahertz of spectrum. We are utilizing a proprietary beamforming technology that will keep capacity issues at a minimum. So those are some of the attributes, but it really just starts with the 4G LTE component.
Interesting. What segments of the aviation community are you most targeting, and where do you see yourself developing additional products and specializations?
Well, as you know, we launched with our flagship product in business aviation. It's a 2-antenna solution that goes on the belly of the aircraft, and it's just an excellent solution for the mid and heavy jet segment. As we've already talked about, as we've gotten very close to launching our network, we were now able to shift our focus to the smaller jets and the turboprop market. So right now our focus is on business aviation, specifically the turbine section, or sector I should say. But as we've already talked about, in 2019 you'll start to see the turboprop market be able to benefit from our network as well.
The ability to communicate anywhere, anytime, and as quickly as possible is this never-ending saga. Where do you see it all going?
Being able to communicate with anyone, anytime, where do I see that going? Well, I think it will continue to be just that. The need to stay connected, whether that's via voice, text, or email, is just something that is an expectation. You likely have heard the same stories I have, that there are executives, certainly there's a new generation of executives in the Fortune 100, Fortune 500 who just demand it. It to me is a little striking that it's taken us this long to enable that sort of constant connectivity on a business jet, but quite frankly it was a very difficult engineering problem to solve, and we're proud to say that we've done it first, and we'll continue to see, I think, that constant need to stay connected.
Now, where did SmartSky come from? How was this company built? Who are the folks that have put it together? Where do you see its future? Well,
the future's bright because of the things that we've already talked about. In terms of how did it get started, there were three young men from Charlotte, North Carolina that started what today is a very successful management company called Da Vinci Jets, and they were zeroed in on delivering just the most delightful user experience that they could to their customers. And our company president, Ryan Stone, whom I know you've met, decided that there had to be a better way to meet the growing need for connectivity. And from that, SmartSky was born. And that occurred about 6 years ago. We're privately owned. As I said, we're just on the very edge of launching the network, which will happen this year. But that's how it got started, by simply asking the question, what more can we do to fulfill the connectivity needs of the business jet market? Well,
it's an interesting set of problems to solve, and in addition to the issues that you have in dealing with the FAA, you're in a communications business, so I assume there's a fair amount of FCC oversight as well. Have you found the regulatory environment for these kind of capabilities to be keeping up with the times?
Well, that's a terrific question. Yes is the short answer, although I think every component, every category of our government struggles to keep up with the private sector from a regulatory perspective as technology advances. In our case, Jim, we're utilizing the 2.4 gigahertz unlicensed band here in this country. That band exists in other parts of the world. So you start with the notion that anyone can use that band. But you have to use it in a way that the FCC says is okay. So to your question, it was no easy task. Not only developing, but deploying a technology that utilizes that unlicensed spectrum, but utilizes it in a way that the FCC says, yep, that's what we want. The FCC set that band aside for innovation, for creativity. So we were doing exactly what the FCC wanted us to do, but make no mistake, it's a pretty serious task to do it in a way that abides by all those regulations. And we're proud to say we've done that.
And imagine there's got to be that interesting complication that occurs when you're trying to placate and cooperate with one agency, and you've still got to do it with yet another, which has its own sets of problems and its own hierarchies.
Indeed, indeed. And of course, you're talking about the FAA.
Yes.
And we have had a great experience with the regulatory bodies that oversee what we're doing. Again, we're proud to be first.
First is good.
Yeah,
you gotta love it.
And as you would expect, as we continue down this path and develop and deploy new products like the light product for the light jet market, we're protecting that know-how because it is. Once you figure it out and you realize how hard it was to figure it out, that's something that we're very proud of at SmartSky as well, as our intellectual property and our growing patent portfolio.
Well, Alan, before I let you go, talk to me about the deployment schedule, where we'll see it, if you can talk about it, who some of the early adopters are, and how that's affecting their mission.
Yeah, so as I said, we're just on the edge of launching our network. That'll be this year, 2018. We expect to have 95+% of all of the business jet flight hours, according to FlightAware, all the hours that are flown by the business jet community covered this year. That does not mean we'll have all of the geography in the United States covered this year. That will be complete sometime, early, mid-2019. But we will then, once we get those flight routes covered, we will announce the network is live, and we're on path and or on schedule, I should say, and have high confidence that that's going to happen this year. Your second question, what does it mean? I can't give you specific flight department names, Jim, but what I would tell you is it's the who's who of the Fortune 100, Fortune 500. It's a small industry, it's a small community. As you would expect, it is those flight departments that are most aggressive about getting connectivity solutions for the people that fly in the back of those really expensive airplanes. And it's a game changer, to answer your question. Because our network is bidirectional, it now for the first time enables things like WebExes that we take for granted terrestrially. And when you're flying across the country in your Falcon or Challenger or Gulfstream, not being able to participate on a WebEx is just excruciating. It's
a loss of business.
Indeed it is. So to answer your question, what does it mean? It now means the office in the sky is here. And it's a pretty exciting time for us.
Office that goes anywhere, right along with you, no matter what's happening.
That's
outstanding. Right. One question that's coming from the outside world through our chat area, your plans for international coverage.
It's a terrific question. Appreciate whoever wrote in on that. We do have on our roadmap plans to do this in other parts of the world. We are a frequency reuse technology that's unique. And as I said earlier, the 2.4 band does exist in other parts of the world. Our plans are to do this in other parts of the world. In terms of timing, that's a little harder question for me to answer. As you'd expect, we're laser focused on getting it done here.
Yeah, one job at a time.
Yeah, and you know, and delivering to those flight departments that we just talked about, delivering on the promise we've made to them. But yes, we plan to do this in other parts of the world.
Outstanding. Alan Goodnight, Vice President of Business Aviation for SmartSky Networks. We appreciate you joining us at the 61st Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show, live from the MGM Grand.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 61st Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Las Vegas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
A new high-powered version of our popular USB charging ports. The TrueBlue Power TA202 series high-power USB charging port simultaneously provides 3 amps of power per port, offering an extensive list of single and dual USB Type-C and Type-A configurations. The TSO-certified TA202 powers current and next-generation personal electronic devices, including phones, iPads, and laptops. Available from your local avionics dealer.
It's called Airtext Plus. The mobile office is now a true, cost-effective win-win reality because being available and part of the communication chain keeps you in control. Visit us at www.airtext.aero for more information and get started staying in touch today.